Well, with Homecoming, the penguin kind of sort of goes home. It's the title, you know. So things have really blown up as Sophia, you know, took care of the family. And she's on the warpath towards the penguin as she realizes he, of course, is the one who took away her precious brother. The only one in the world who seemed to give a damn about her, you know. So, meanwhile, the penguin is making moves here as well, since the Maronis almost took him out. And boy, does he get his revenge for that one. I mean, he seems a comical character, but man, you don't want to cross this man. So he gets his gang together, he rallies them, and counters the Maronis, and it's quite brutal. There's one scene where he kidnaps one of the members of the family, and just the way it's framed and filmed, it's really good. And then the final confrontation between them. Look, when you're doing a hostage exchange and the hostage you're trying to free seems to be soaking wet in something, oh boy, it's not going to turn out great. So the other aspects of it is more on, his relationship to his mother. He has to, he gets Victor to take her somewhere where they wouldn't think to find her, which he does in the destroyed sector of Gotham that was ruined by the flood. So there's a lot of abandoned buildings out there and whatnot. And one of Victor's friends had an apartment there, so he knew where it was to get into it. But there's no electricity and all that sort of stuff. It's just completely abandoned. There's still looters and stuff going around. So he gets there, and even in the throes of her dementia, their mother is, somewhat wise to what's going on, but on the other hand, is lost in it all. But you get a view of what the penguin's life, or Oz, was growing up, because both he and his mother confirmed to Victor that basically that apartment that they're hiding out in, it was almost exactly the same type of place that they grew up in, that they lived in with her. And so you get a lot of the hardships of what happened and more of a backstory of the family and that sort of thing. And but in the meanwhile, it's looking pretty bad for Penguin. He got his revenge on the Maronis, but they still screwed him over. And I'm not going to go into all the details because it's too spoilery. But while in that section of the neighborhood, and talking with Victor about everything and all that, his brain starts working. And this is more of the demonstration of, he's this odd-looking guy. A lot of people underestimate him to their detriment, but he's actually very clever, very smart, and he just sounds like a dumb thug. But he's been around, he's survived, and a lot of that is just through his wit. And he's done that, and he's looking for a way to get back in the game here through this new drug, and he got screwed over somewhat in that aspect, but he finds a solution. And it's interesting. What he does, he finds a base of operations that they can make use of for this very endeavor. And what it is like, I was like, man, you go too far, you're going to run into the Batcave from the movie. So I guess this is the bird cave for the penguin. But it's this place, and he goes on, he get a detailed history of one element of Gotham City there, and he's talking about it. And, he and his brother used to play there, and this sort of thing. So it's all, it all fits in about how he finds himself from one step to the other, and shows where his plan goes. So from down in the dumps and feeling defeated, and I'll figure it out, when in reality he wasn't sure that he could. And then here comes this idea, and it's all abandoned. Nobody cares about this area. It's been it was forgotten to begin with, and then the flood happened, so it's pretty much ignored by the rest of the city, and so not the most obvious place to go looking for Penguin and his operation and whatnot. So it works out. Meanwhile, Sophia is making her moves as well, and seeks an alliance with Sal, which makes sense at this point, despite the fact that the family was bitter enemies. But after all the betrayals that she suffered, she's abandoning the Falcon name, though that was her father's name. She's going with the Gigante, name that her mother had, because she feels that her father had betrayed them, which he did. He murdered her mother when she began to get suspicious about this and the murders of these girls from the club and all that sort of stuff. So then he frames her and throws her into Arkham, where she's tortured and everything. And so, well, you can kind of understand her position at this point. So she makes a move to consolidate the family under her, and gives a demonstration of just how far she'll go. And they get the message. Plus, she buys them off, and she makes the point that they too were considered nothing. And now, of course, as time goes by with the power and whatnot, will she always be, hey, we're all in this together type thing? No, she's in charge, that kind of thing. But it's interesting as you get to this episode. Now, of course, with Penguin and the way he looks and stuff, he looks realistic enough as he is in the makeup and everything, as this typical mobster character that you would have had in any mobster movie and stuff like that. But at this point, it's really veering into its comic book roots in the sense that it does look more of a superhero take on mobsters and crime and whatnot, to where Sophia is now coming into a more comic book character. It struck me as such, and just to how she looks and everything, and she's a bit more, I wouldn't say exaggerated, and certainly not more to the fantastic. There's no superpowers or any of that sort of stuff, but it's certainly more pronounced, and that is reflective of the personalities that they've developed and the positions they're in. So it's interesting. I don't know if that's really what the purpose was or whatnot, or what that's where they'll end up. For all intents and purposes, Penguin he's the Penguin. It's not like this is an origin story for him or anything. It's just his, I would assume, rise to power and that sort of thing. But it just had that more of the theatrics that the comic book stylings have for characters, albeit very toned down from them. They're not in costumes, but although kind of they are, it's clothing and everything, but it's a little more. It's a little more than it was before this. So it's kind of this almost transitional episode. Perhaps. I could be completely wrong and everything is toned down again, but I don't think so. They're heading for a conflict, obviously, in this crime war. And of course, it would be really nice, even if it's just a body double, to have some Batman scenes in it. And maybe they'll surprise it and it's there. It doesn't sound like it. It's that, and there's reasons for it now. Titans had a brief Batman in silhouette in it. I don't see why this one couldn't. Just the idea of all these crimes going on and he wouldn't show up, and not that they have to have him meeting the Penguin and all that sort of, just kind of in the background, maybe even just in news broadcasts or whatnot. You would think that would be there. But other than that, but especially now, I think so, since I see it as moving more towards, acknowledging in scenery of its comic book roots. So it's just my 2 cents on it. But anyway, once again, good episode, and this is a great show, and I'm surprised because, like I said, wasn't all that happy with the Batman movie. Yet this is excellent. So anyway, there you go. The Penguin went home.